There we are. Oh, there we are.
Okay.
Hi. With
Hello.
Richard and Elaine Green from Grace United Methodist Church, Dayton, Ohio. We are telling Egypt the Exodus 14, verses 10 through 29, the story about the crossing of the Red Sea. As Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites looked back, and there were the Egyptians advancing on them. They cried out in great fear to God. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you took us out to the wilderness to die? What have you done taking us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt? Leave us alone. Let us serve the Egyptians. For it is better to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." Then Moses said to them, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and see what the Lord is what God is going to accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You have only to keep still." Then God said to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward. But you, raise up your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it, so that the Israelites can go into the sea on dry ground. And then I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so they go in after them, so that I will gain glory for myself over Pharaoh, all his army, his chariots, and his chariot drivers. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I gain glory for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his chariot drivers." The angel of God who was in front of them went behind them, and the pillar of cloud that was in front of them took its place behind them. It came between the army of Egypt and the army of Israel. The cloud was there with the darkness, and it lit up the night, and one did not come near the other all night.
Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind all night, and turning the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. Now the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, and the waters formed a wall for them on their right and on their left. Now the Egyptians pursued and followed them into the sea, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and chariot drivers. Now at the morning watch, the Lord looked down in a pillar of fire and clouds. He looked down on the Egyptian army, and he turned the Egyptian army into a panic. He clogged their chariot wheels so that it made turning difficult. And the Egyptian says, "Let us flee from the Israelites, for the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." And so the Lord told Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may come upon the Egyptians and upon their chariots and their chariot drivers." And so Moses stuck out his hand over the sea. At dawn, the waters came back to its natural depth. And as the Egyptians fled before it, the Lord tossed them into the sea. Now the water covered the chariots and the chariot drivers, and the entire army of pharaohs that followed them into the sea, none of them survived. But the Israelites walked on dry ground through the sea, and the waters formed a wall for them on their right and on their left.
The word of
God
God
for
for
the
the
people
people
of
of God.
God.
Thanks be to God.